A grassroots group, Twin Ports Rapid Response, started only around 6 months ago, but they announced their rapid response team to the public on Thursday. And their goal is to defend the right to live without fear.
Not in our town! Not in our town!
That was the rallying cry of community members, coalitions, and the Twin Ports Rapid Response team outside of Duluth City Hall. It struck at the heart of Luis Islas, a U.S. citizen who says he was wrongfully detained by ICE in March while on a work trip in Texas.
Had nobody around, no witnesses, nobody here, nobody there that could, provide that testimonial, record the evidence like so many people here are willing to do.
He said the experience left him with anxiety and PTSD, something he hopes he can prevent his neighbors from experiencing.
I want to be that helping hand. I want to be the person in the corner that I wish I would have had in my experience.
Members of the response team trained on how to document ICE arrests and act as constitutional observers, tracking court cases, informing family of an arrest, and collecting documentation.
Another layer is there are people all over the city that are being encouraged to look out for their neighbors, almost like developing a neighborhood watch.
Michelle Nar-Oved says the group emphasizes nonviolence, advocacy in their community, and support for those who have already been impacted by ICE detainments.
The response team also has a hotline and offers response training. In Duluth, Ella Schoberl, Northern News Now.
Well, Northern News Now also reached out to ICE representatives in Minnesota for a statement on that rapid response team. We've not yet heard back.